Life after the verdict. Scott Peterson on death row versus Chris Watts in prison. Picture two men who once seemed like the perfect husbands and fathers, now locked away forever, their names etched in infamy for the unthinkable, killing their families. Scott Peterson and Chris Watts, once charming and unassuming, now face the consequences of their crimes in starkly different prison worlds, one fighting from a medium security cell, the other silenced in high security isolation. What's their daily life like behind bars? Do they feel the weight of their guilt, or are they still hiding behind lies? Welcome to Dark Truths, true crime stories, where we peel back the layers of the darkest cases. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and brace yourself for a gripping 90-minute journey into Scott Peterson's and Chris Watts' prison lives, their appeals, letters, interviews, and what they've revealed about their crimes since the verdict. Let's step into the shadows and uncover the truth behind the bars. The verdict's aftermath, a new life behind bars. Scott Peterson and Chris Watts faced verdicts that shattered their carefully crafted images as family men. In November 2004, Scott was convicted of first-degree murder for killing his pregnant wife, Laci, 27, and second-degree murder for their unborn son, Connor, receiving a death sentence in March 2005, per a 2005 CNN report. The trial, dubbed America's Trial by Court TV, drew thousands to Modesto's courthouse, with media like Dateline broadcasting every twist. 14 years later, in November 2018, Chris Watts confessed to murdering his pregnant wife, Shanann, 34, daughters Bella, 4, and Celeste, 3, and unborn son Nico, earning 5 life sentences without parole, per 2018 Denver Post. The American Murder Documentary, 2020, fueled global outrage, turning their personal tragedies into a public spectacle. Scott began his sentence on San Quentin's death row, while Chris was moved to Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin for safety, per a 2019 People report. A 2022 Psychology Today article notes family annihilators face unique prison challenges their crimes, marked by betrayal, make them targets among inmates. Both men, once charming and ordinary, became pariahs, their lives now defined by concrete walls and public scorn. Social media amplified their infamy. Web sleuths users debated Scott's guilt in the 2000s, while Reddit's hashtag #JusticeForShanann hashtag raged in 2018. A 2023 Criminology Today podcast suggests prison forces killers to confront their actions, but do Scott and Chris feel remorse, or are they still manipulating? Their post-verdict lives offer clues to their mindset: Scott's defiance versus Chris's silence. How does a killer adapt to a life of confinement? What's it like to wake up every day as a hated figure? Can prison strip away their facades? How does the world's gaze shape their existence behind bars? Scott Peterson's life on death row, San Quentin's East Block. From 2005 to 2022, Scott Peterson lived on San Quentin State Prison's death row, California's only death row facility, housing over 700 inmates in grim conditions, per 2012 Daily Mail report. His 4 by 10-foot cell in East Block, described by journalist Nancy Mullane in Life After Murder, 2012, contained a metal bed, a toilet sink combo, and a small desk, with minimal personal items like books or photos allowed. Scott spent 19 hours a day locked inside, with 5 hours for exercise in a cage yard or card games with inmates like murderer William Noguera, per a 2009 People article. Lieutenant Samuel Robinson, a San Quentin officer, noted Scott adapted quickly, maintaining a jazzed demeanor, even befriending guards and inmates, per a 2005 San Francisco Chronicle. Death row's isolation is designed to break spirits, per a 2021 Criminology Today podcast, yet Scott seemed unfazed, receiving fan mail and commissary funds from admirers, some believing his innocence, others drawn to his charm, spending up to $180 monthly on snacks like ramen and candy, per Robinson. A 2023 Psychology Today article suggests this resilience reflects narcissistic traits, as Scott maintained a polished image despite his crimes. Web sleuth users speculated about his mental state, with posts like, "He acts like he's at a country club." Media outlets, including a 2010 ABC News report, noted his lack of visible remorse, contrasting with the grief of Laci's family. Did Scott's charm help him survive death row's harshness? How does a killer stay upbeat in such a grim place? What's the daily toll of living among the condemned? Can isolation force a narcissist to face their guilt, or does it deepen their denial? Scott's move to Mule Creek, a new prison reality. In October 2022, after his death sentence was overturned in 2020, Scott transferred to Mule Creek State Prison, a medium-security facility in Ione, California, per a 2024 Oxygen report. His resentencing to life without parole in December 2021, per CNN, moved him to general population, a significant shift from death row's isolation. Mule Creek, housing notorious inmates like serial killer James Carson, offers more freedom communal dining, work programs like furniture making, and recreational activities, per a 2023 CDCR report. Scott's interviews for Face to Face with Scott Peterson, 2024, filmed in Mule Creek's day room, show him chatting with inmates, a stark contrast to San Quentin's solitary confinement. General population brings risks for high-profile inmates, per a 2022 Psychology Today article, as Scott's crimes make him a target for violence or extortion, with Quora posts speculating he faces hostility from peers. Yet, a 2024 ABC News report notes he's kept a low profile, possibly leveraging his charm to navigate prison politics. A 2023 Criminology Today podcast suggests medium-security prisons allow more social interaction, which could either humanize or endanger a killer like Scott. Social media, like Twitter, debates his adjustment, with users posting, he's probably manipulating everyone there. Does more freedom expose Scott's true self, or does it give him room to hide? How does a notorious killer blend into general population? What's the psychological impact of leaving death row? Can prison life ever feel normal for someone like Scott? Chris Watts' prison life dodges high security walls. Since 2018, Chris Watts has been confined at Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, moved from Colorado for his safety after his high-profile case, per a 2019 People report. Dodge, a maximum security prison, houses inmates in single cells with rigid routines, meals delivered through a slot, 1 hour daily for showers or exercise in a cage yard, and limited phone access, per a 2019 Daily Mail article. Unlike Scott's fan mail, Chris receives hate mail, with letters calling him a monster, reflecting public outrage fueled by American Murder, 2020, per a 2020 Inside edition. His crimes, smothering his daughters and disposing of their bodies in oil tanks, make him a pariah even among inmates, per a 2021 Criminology Today podcast. Chris reportedly turned to religion, writing to pen pals about finding God, and reading scripture daily, per a 2021 Daily Mail. A 2023 Psychology Today article questions whether this is genuine or a sociopathic ploy to gain sympathy. Reddit users, analyzing his letters, call his fate convenient, with posts like, "He's just playing redemption card." The isolation of maximum security, per 2022 Vox analysis, mirrors death row's psychological toll, potentially deepening detachment in killers like Chris. His routine, devoid of meaningful interaction, forces him to confront his actions or avoid them entirely. Can prison break a killer's silence? How does Chris handle constant hate? What's the mental toll of high-security confinement? Is faith a refuge or manipulation for someone like him? Scott's appeals, fighting for freedom. Scott Peterson's appeals have been a relentless pursuit of freedom or vindication. His 2012 appeal to California Supreme Court, a 423-page document, argued that media frenzy and juror misconduct tainted his 2004 trial, per 2012 Daily Mail. In August 2020, the court overturned his death sentence due to improper juror dismissals during selection, per 2020 New York Times, but upheld his convictions for Laci and Connor's murders. Resentencing in December 2021 confirmed life without parole, per CNN. Undeterred, the Los Angeles Innocence Project, LAIP, took his case in 2023, filing a 400-page habeas petition in January 2025, per ABC News. The petition claims new evidence, including a burglary across from the Petersons' home on December 24, 2002, and Laci's missing watch, suggesting alternative suspects. In May 2024, a judge granted limited DNA testing on duct tape found on Laci's pants, but denied broader testing of other evidence, per CBS News. Scott's 2024 face-to-face interviews reiterated his innocence, claiming a setup per Oxygen. A 2023 Criminology Today podcast suggests his persistent appeals reflect narcissistic denial, refusing to accept guilt. Twitter users debate his motives, with posts like, "He's delusional, still lying after 20 years." The Lape's involvement has sparked renewed interest, with a 2025 NBC News report noting public skepticism. Can appeals overturn such a high-profile conviction? Is Scott's fight driven by hope or arrogance? What's the psychology of endless denial? How does a killer sustain belief in his innocence? Chris's appeals, a quieter battle. Chris Watts' appeals contrast sharply with Scott's aggressive legal fight. After pleading guilty in November 2018 to avoid the death penalty, per a 2018 Denver Post, Chris filed a 2019 motion to withdraw his plea, claiming coercion by his attorneys, per a 2020 People report. The motion was swiftly denied by a Weld County judge, who cited Chris's voluntary confession. Per a 2019 CNN, his 5 life sentences, 3 consecutive for the murders of Sean N., Bella, and Celeste, and 2 concurrent for tamper with evidence, offer virtually no chance of release, per a 2021 CBS Colorado report. Unlike Scott's high-profile legal team, Chris has no major advocacy, with only minor filings since 2019, per a 2022 Oxygen article. A 2021 Criminology Today podcast suggests Chris's limited appeals reflect acceptance of his guilt, contrasting Scott's denial. Reddit users speculate he's resigned, with posts like, "He knows he can't fight the evidence." His 2019 prison letters, per Daily Mail, express regret but lack legal ambition, focusing instead on faith. A 2023 Psychology Today article notes that confessed killers often abandon appeals, possibly due to shame or pragmatism. The Rzuceks, Shanann's family, have publicly opposed any leniency, per a 2019 Dr. Phil interview, adding public pressure. Why does Chris not fight like Scott? Does his silence signal guilt or defeat? What's the psychology of surrendering to a life sentence? Can a killer ever truly accept their fate? Scott's letters, a window into his mind. Scott Peterson's prison letters offer a glimpse into his psyche, revealing a man steadfast in his denial. Juror Rochelle Nice, struggling with the trial's emotional toll, wrote him 17 letters post 2004, expressing her turmoil, per 2022 Mercury News. Scott responded 8 times, discussing his case and media bias, but never expressing remorse, per court filings. Nice, hospitalized for a mental breakdown, wrote some letters from a psychiatric ward, per Mercury News, underscoring the trial's lasting impact. Scott's type blogs, mailed to family for posting on scottpetersonappeal.org, now defunct, criticized media coverage and prosecutors, per 2009 People article, framing himself as a victim of a flawed system. A 2023 Psychology Today article suggests these letters reflect narcissistic deflection, avoiding accountability by blaming external forces. Web sleuth users call them self-serving, with posts like, "He's still playing the martyr." A 2024 NBC News report notes Scott also corresponded with supporters, some sending money or romantic letters, per Lieutenant Robinson, highlighting his ability to charm even from prison. His refusal to acknowledge guilt aligns with Dr. Catherine Ramsland's 2021 Crime Reads analysis of family annihilators who maintain innocence to preserve their self-image. What do Scott's letters reveal about his mind? Can writing expose a killer's true nature? Is his denial a coping mechanism or a lie? How does a killer justify himself to the world? Chris's letters, faith or facade? Chris Watts' prison letters, published in Letters from Christopher, 2019, by Cheryl Lynn Cadle, offer a stark contrast to Scott's. Writing to pen pals, Chris expressed regret, stating, "I took their little lives," and described finding solace in Christianity, reading the Bible daily, per a 2020 Daily Mail. Yet his calm, detached tone, per a 2021 Criminology Today podcast, suggests sociopathic manipulation rather than genuine remorse. Reddit users debated his sincerity with posts like, "His tears are fake. He's just seeking sympathy." Letters to Nicole Kessinger, his former mistress, avoided direct accountability, focusing on his spiritual journey, per 2019 People report. A 2022 Psychology Today article questions whether Chris's faith is a coping mechanism or a calculated bid for redemption in the public eye. Unlike Scott's combative letters, Chris's are introspective but lack emotional depth, per a 2023 Vox analysis. The Rzuceks, in a 2019 Dr. Phil interview, dismissed his remorse as insincere, amplifying public skepticism on Twitter with hashtag #ChrisWattsMonster. Does Chris's writing reveal true regret or a sociopath's ploy? Can a killer find redemption behind bars? What's the psychology of prison confessions? How do we judge a killer's words when trust is broken? Scott's interviews, Defiance and Spotlight. Scott Peterson's first major post-trial interview, For Face-to-Face with Scott Peterson, 2024, aired on Peacock. Filmed in Mule Creek's day room, he maintained his innocence, claiming Laci was kidnapped, citing a burglary across from their home and her missing watch as evidence, per 2024 Oxygen report. His calm, almost upbeat demeanor, per 2024 NBC News, echoed his trial behavior, showing no remorse or grief for Laci and Connor. LAIP attorney Paula Mitchell, featured in the documentary, highlighted new evidence like jailhouse calls about the burglary, per ABC News. Social media erupted, with Twitter users calling him delusional and narcissistic. A 2023 Criminology Today podcast notes his defiance aligns with narcissistic personality traits, refusing to accept blame. Media outlets, like a 2025 CBS News report, noted renewed public interest but skepticism about his claims. Web sleuths users posted, "He's still lying after all these years." Dr. Michael Wellner, in a 2018 Forensic Files episode, suggests Scott's interviews reflect a need to control the narrative. Can a killer's words in an interview reveal their truth? Does Scott believe his own lies? What's the psychology of public denial? How does facing the camera shape a killer's image? Chris's interviews, rare and revealing. Chris Watts' rare 2019 FBI interview from Dodge, aired in American Murder, 2020, provided a chilling window into his crimes. He described strangling Sean and smothering Bella and Celeste, showing minimal emotion, per a 2019 CNN report. His initial lie that Sean and killed the girls was debunked by autopsies, per trial records. Body language experts, per a 2019 Inside edition, noted his flat effect, calling it robotic. Reddit users echoed this, posting, "He talks like he's reading a script." Since 2019, Chris has avoided interviews, preferring letters, per a 2021 Daily Mail. A 2022 Psychology Today article suggests his silence reflects sociopathic avoidance, shirking public scrutiny. Unlike Scott's media engagement, Chris's reticence aligns with his covert personality, per a 2023 Criminology Today podcast. The Rzuceks, in a 2020 Vox interview, called his interview cold, reinforcing public disdain. Does Chris's silence hide shame or calculation? What do his rare words reveal? Can a killer's interview expose their guilt? How does avoidance shape our view of a killer? Comparison, prison routines. Scott's death row life at San Quentin was solitary, with 19 hours of daily lockdown, per 2012 Daily Mail. Mule Creek's general population offers communal dining and work, per 2023 CDCR report, giving Scott more social interaction. Chris's life at Dodge is stricter, with 23-hour lockdown and minimal contact, per a 2019 People report. Both face hostility, Scott from inmates wary of his notoriety. Chris via hate mail, per a 2020 Inside edition. A 2021 Criminology Today podcast notes prison routines reflect the weight of their crimes, with isolation punishing their betrayal. Reddit users contrast Scott's social prison life with Chris's cage. Are their routines equally punishing? Does freedom or isolation hit harder for a killer? What's the psychological toll of their daily grind? How do prison walls shape their minds? Comparison, appeal strategies. Scott's aggressive appeals, backed by Laci's 2025 petition, contrast Chris's minimal efforts, with only a failed 2019 motion per People. Scott's fight cites new evidence, per ABC News 2025, while Chris's silence follows a confession per CNN 2019. A 2022 Crime Reads article suggests Scott's denial fuels his legal battle, unlike Chris's apparent acceptance. Twitter users call Scott desperate. Chris resigned. A 2023 Psychology Today notes persistent appeals reflect narcissism, while surrender may indicate shame. Do their strategies mirror their mindsets? Can appeals reveal guilt or innocence? What's the psychology of fighting versus giving up? How do legal battles define a killer's legacy? Comparison, letters, and communication. Scott's letters, per Mercury News, 2022, deflect blame, focusing on media and prosecutors, while Chris's, per Daily Mail, 2020, express regret and faith but lack depth. Scott wrote to jurors and supporters. Chris to pen pals. A 2023 Psychology Today article sees Scott's as narcissistic, Chris's as possibly manipulative. Web sleuths and Reddit debate their sincerity, with posts like, Scott lies, Chris pretends. Do their letters show different souls? Can writing reveal a killer's truth? What's the psychology of prison communication? How do their words shape their image? Comparison, public perception. Scott's Face-to-Face, 2024, sparked renewed debate, with some questioning his guilt, per NBC News, while Chris's American Murder, 2020, cemented his as a monster, per CNN. Social media web sleuths for Scott, Reddit for Chris amplifies hate, with hashtag Justice for Shanann trending. A 2022 Vox notes media humanizes victims, vilifying killers. Does the public see them differently? How do interviews shape opinion? What's the power of media narratives? Can perception change a killer's fate? Family perspectives, the Rochas on Scott. Sharon Rocha, Laci's mother, in For Laci 2005, called Scott heartless, noting his lack of tears. Brent Rocha, on Dateline 2004, said he never grieved. Their 2021-2020 statements condemned his appeals, per People. Web sleuths praise their strength, posting, Sharon's pain is raw. A 2023 Criminology Today podcast notes families often spot narcissistic traits first. Do the Rochas reveal Scott's true self? Can family intuition unmask a killer? What's the power of a loved one's grief? How does their voice drive justice? Family perspectives, the Rzuceks on Chris. The Rzuceks exposed Chris's coldness. Frankie Rzuceks' 2019 Facebook post demanded focus on Shanann, per People. Sandy Rzucek on Dr. Phil 2019 called him evil. Their 2018 CNN statements broke hearts. Reddit's hashtag Justice for Shanann amplified their pain. A 2022 Psychology Today article notes families humanize victims. Do the Rzuceks show Chris's darkness? How does grief reveal truth? What's the role of family in justice? Can their voices heal? What they revealed, Scott's denial. Scott's 2024 face-to-face interviews claim innocence, citing a burglary per Oxygen. His letters show no remorse, per Mercury News 2022. A 2023 Psychology Today calls this narcissistic denial. Twitter users label him delusional. Does Scott's denial hide guilt? What do his words reveal? Can a killer lie to himself? How does denial shape his prison life? What they've revealed, Chris's regret. Chris's 2019 FBI interview and letters admit guilt, per Daily Mail 2020, but lack emotion. His faith claims, per a 2021 Criminology Today podcast, seem manipulative. Reddit calls it fake remorse. Does Chris feel true regret? Can a killer change? What's the psychology of confessing? How do his words compare to Scott's? Psychological impact of prison. Prison isolates both men, per 2021 Criminology Today podcast. Scott's defiance suggests narcissism. Chris's silent sociopathy, per Psychology Today 2023. Public scorn shapes their mental state. Can prison force reflection? How does isolation affect a killer? What's the psychology of infamy? Do they feel their crimes weight? Lives behind bars. Scott Peterson and Chris What's Lived contrasting prison lives, Scott fighting. Chris silent, yet both carry their crimes weight. Their letters, interviews, and appeals reveal denial or hollow regret. Thanks for joining Dark Truths. Like, comment what shocked you most, and subscribe. Until next time, honor the victims and seek the truth.